Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Scores Studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes to you courtesy of my incredible patrons. Once a month, my patrons vote on what commander they want to see in an upcoming episode, and the commander that gets the most votes wins. And the commander for this episode is Sophia, Dogged Detective. My goodness, the flavor of this commander. Anyone else big Scooby-Doo fan from when they were a kid? Yeah, absolutely. Rare, Reggie. Okay, that was as good as I can get my Scooby, and I think it's pretty okay, all right? Rare. All right, 3/4 Human Detective for 4 mana in Bant. When Sophia enters the battlefield, create tiny, not Scooby, sorry Scooby, a legendary 2/2 green dog detective creature token with trample. Wasn't Tiny the name of the Crash Bandicoot, big guy? I think it was. Anyways, pay 1, sacrifice an artifact you control, put a counter on each dog you control. Whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, create a food token, then investigate. Which, you know what, obviously means you're making a clue token. So you get 2 tokens. You get, Scooby snacks for the food, and then you get the clue. Yeah, all about Scooby, all about Shaggy, all about the Mystery Machine. Now, yeah, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be absolutely demolishing our opponents with a dog army. That's right, get a lot of dogs out, swing to our heart's content, get a lot of Scooby snacks, get a lot of clues, sacrifice those, either to gain life, draw cards, or yes, make our dogs even deadlier, and then demolish our opponents with an army of dogs. So, of course, this is a very budget-friendly version of this deck as well. $18.41 according to Moxfield. That is not including shipping or the price of basics, but you already have those basics. Regardless, if you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. A very budget-friendly deck. Now, but that said, let's jump into it. So, first up with tactic number 1, Good Boys. Yeah, we've got some great dogs to help us out, including Faithful Watchdog, a 0/0 dog that is definitely not a 0/0 in my heart. So it's going to cost 2 mana, and Selesnya Vigilance enters battlefield with 3 counters on it. So yeah, this is a 3/3 with Vigilance to start things off quite low to the ground. The larger we can get this, the better it is on offense and defense. Next up, Blink Dog. 1/1 with double strike for 3 mana. And we can also have it phase out by paying 3 and a white. So essentially, it can keep those counters on it, which is amazing. We can also protect it. And yeah, that double strike makes those counters essentially count for twice as much. Next up, Corpse Cur. Oh my goodness. 2/2 Hound. And yeah, hounds have been errated to be dogs now, so make sure you know that. Costing 4 with Infect. So yeah, we just need to get, 8 counters on this? That'll take no time at all, right? Every single time a dog hits, we get 2 artifacts that we can sacrifice. And then all of a sudden, it's a one-shot KO on anyone. Next up, Elven Warhounds, a 2/2. That costs 4 mana. Whenever it's blocked by any creature, that creature goes on top of its owner's library. So this creature, again, which we can make into an absolute monster, is going to be difficult for our opponents to want to block, because if they do, well, they're just going to be drawing into their creatures, and that's all they're going to be doing. They're not going to be able to draw into anything else. We can essentially just, set the top of their library again and again and again. Good luck team blocking this thing, essentially, too. Mongrel Pack is next, 4/1. That costs 4 mana in green. Whenever it's put in a graveyard from play during combat, we get 4/1/1 hounds, which are now been added to dogs, essentially. Basically, if this gets taken out in combat, and it doesn't have a lot of toughness, we will build that up, of course, that still, we're going to get an army of dogs from this that, of course, we can then grow with our commander. Speed of growing, though, Mau, Loyal Companion, 3/3 Vigilance with Trample, too. If 1 or more counters we put on Mau, that many +1 are put on instead. Oh my goodness. Every single time we connect with a dog, again, food and clue. Sacrifice both of those. For most of our dogs, that's 2 counters each. For this one, it's going to be 4 counters. So, yeah, we're going to be making this thing absolutely massive in no time. And then, well, okay, this is not a dog, but it is going to help us with some threats as well. So I kept it in this little tactic right here. 6/6 Clue Plant with Ward 2 for 7 mana in blue. Beginning of each combat, other clues you control become 6/6 plant creature tokens. In addition to other types of turn, pay 2, sacrifice it, draw a card. So our clues become absolutely massive, and that is another avenue to victory for us. Moving on, though, to tactic number 2, change it up, and change it up we shall with, well, you guessed it, Changelings. 2/2 Shapeshifter for 3 mana, Bloodline Pretender, enters battlefield, choose a creature type. dog. Whenever the creature of the chosen type enters battlefield you control, you get a counter on this. So this can grow essentially when we're getting our dogs into play, and we sacrifice those artifacts as well. Mirror Entity, speaking of growing, a 1/1 shapeshifter for 3 mana. Whenever you decide to actually pay into that X, yeah, you can make things absolutely massive. X mana until end of turn, creature you control a base power notice XX and gain all creature types. So with them being all creature types, like, this changeling, everything is also a dog, including our commander too, which now can also add, counters to itself, which is lovely. But on top of that, of course, we can just pump a ton of mana into this. We're in green. We've got a lot of mana to use, and then make our creatures massive. And of course, those counters on top of them make them even more massive. Next up, a regular cohort. What's better than 1 dog? 2 dogs. Well, changeling dogs, but still. 2/2 shapeshifter for 4 mana. Enters the battlefield, make a 2/2 with changeling and shapeshifter. It is a shapeshifter with changeling. There we go. More out of the frost, though. We got a 0/0 shapeshifter that is a changeling, of course, but also a clone. Enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and so does other types. It's a creature, enters with an extra 2 counters on it, and has changeling. So, yeah, whatever our best threat is, we're getting an extra copy of that. And it's also a dog, thanks to this. But speaking of our best threat, let's move on to tactic number 3, the Golden Pig. The number 1 card out of our 99 is Pack Leader. How adorable! A 2/2 dog for 2 mana and white. Other dogs you control get ++1. Whenever it attacks, prevent all combat damage to be dealt this turn to dogs you control. So swing freely. Just keep swinging. This is a great anthem for our team. And on top of that, of course, a great way to, well, protect them in combat. Just keep swinging at the opponent. Just keep hitting. For this little 2 mana dog, this does so much for us. That's why it is the Golden Pig. Moving on to tactic number 4, though, Pack Mentality. First up, we got Encampment Keeper, a 1/1 hound for a single white mana. First strike. First strike can come in really handy when it comes to pumping this creature with some counters. But on top of that, though, we can pay 8 mana total, tap, sacrifice this, and creatures we control get +2/+2 until end of turn. This can be a great finisher for us, just out of nowhere, sacrificing this and pumping our team. Absolutely lovely. Anak Bonkin, a 2/1 dog soldier for 2 mana and white. Outlast, so we can actually get an extra counter on this if we want to. On top of that, though, each creature control a counter on it has first strike. So that +1 counter can really come in handy for not just this, but of course our entire dog army. Them having first strike can be massive because, again, it protects them in combat quite well, hitting first. Next up, Abzan Falconer. We don't really need to protect our creatures if they can get through, though. Each creature control with a counter on it has flying. That is absolutely huge, basically making our entire army incredibly evasive. Karlov Watchdog, a 3/2 Vigilance. We can probably ignore that. Permanents our opponent's control can't be turned face up during your turn. That might come in handy against a Morph deck, but yeah, ignore that, really. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, creature control ++1 until end of turn, though. So that's a great anthem effect as well for us. And again, with Vigilance, that can be absolutely huge once we're making these dogs huge, because great attacking, great at blocking as well. Speaking of blocking, Longshot Squad. Each creature control they counter on it has reach. And I do want to remind you that every single time you see the word hound, it is dog as well. Or just dog. It got added. Anyways, reach can be great when it comes to blocking those flyers. So, well, you got that giant dragon over there, but I've got this 10/10 dog to block you now. Moving on, Supply Runners. Enters the battlefield, you get a counter on each other creature you control. Just a nice way, again, with a deck that's looking to get a lot of creatures out, get a lot of counters on them, just some extra counters that come in handy. Moving on to tactic number 5, get through. First up, there's Levitation, enchantment that says creatures you control have flying for 4 mana. Yeah, for 4 mana, this is a small investment to give us a lot of evasion, or, help us with blocking as well. Next up, Audric Lunarch Marshal. Get ready for, well, basically like an ad read essentially right here. When you hear that like really quick at the end of the, an episode of something. Here we go. Ready? At the beginning of each combat, creature control gain first strike until end of turn. If a creature controls first strike, the same as you were flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. Basically, if you have a keyword on something, it spreads to all of the things. At the very least, again, with Tiny is Trample. Giving Trample to all of our dogs can be absolutely amazing to get damage through, but yeah, for other creatures have certain of the things they can give out to everyone, that's great as well. Next up, Senator Peacock. Artifacts you control are clues issued with our types and have pay 2, sacrifice artifact, draw a card. So that does count for our foods, which are now clues, which is kind of weird, but still is a thing. Also, any other artifacts we might have those, so we can actually sacrifice those for some value. Or, you know what we can actually do? When you sacrifice a clue, target creature can be blocked this turn. So now, by sacrificing our clues, or any of our artifacts essentially, what we're going to be doing again is pumping our army and also making creatures unblockable, which is absolutely amazing and a fantastic way to get damage through. Next up, let's move on to tactic number 6, though. Dig down. Get it, dogs and digging. Yeah, very clever, right? Speaking of clever, again, when it comes to getting clues, we've got Floodhound, which can help us get even more clues now. Pay 3, tap, investigate. On top of that, of course, this is a dog, so this 1-mana creature can become a big threat and also give us other clues to help us become an even bigger threat for our team. Next up, Astrid Pef. Not a dog, but can help us out as well. A 2/2 that costs 2 mana and white, enters the battlefield or attacks, create a food token. Whenever you sacrifice a clue or food, it explores, meaning this can become absolutely massive and also give us a good amount of card advantage and selection off the top of our library, getting any lands in our hand or cards we don't need into our graveyard. Next up, Spirited Companion, a 1/1 dog for 2 mana that simply has enters the battlefield, draw a card. What's not to love about that? Abzan Beastmaster, at the beginning of upkeep, draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest toughness or tied for the greatest toughness. That's going to be happening. Again, the amount that we can pump our team, we are definitely going to be getting there. Inspiring Call, draw an absurd amount of cards, protect your entire team at once. Draw a card for each creature control, they counter on it. On top of that, they all get indestructible. An amazing way to protect our team and also draw crazy amounts of cards for just 3 mana. Next up, Peregrine Took. If one of our tokens is creating your control, instead, those tokens plus your food token are created instead. Extra foods every single time, yes please. On top of that, we can utilize our foods in a different way now. Sacrifice 3 foods, draw a card. So this can help us dig down into our deck a lot. Sterling Hound, simple ETB, Surveil, too, a great way to get some card selection. Next up, Tireless Tracker. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you get a counter on this, so this can become quite the threat throughout the game. On top of that, whenever lands go to planar control, which we're in green, we're gonna have that happen a lot, we get to investigate. Then there's Overwhelmed Mysteries. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate, so we can replace our creatures with clues, which is nice. On top of that, whenever we sacrifice a clue, and the wait to draw a card, and the wait to bump our team, whatever we do it for, we're getting a 1/1 human soldier creature token. Then there's Armorcraft Judge. Enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature control they counter on it, so that can be a ton, of course. And of course, Camaraderie. You gain X life, draw X cards, X every creature you control. Creature control +1 till end turn, so a go wide strategy can really help us out with this. Draw a lot of cards, gain a lot of life, and a slight pump effect. That's not too bad either. Moving on to tactic number 7, though, stick around because we've got some key pieces in this deck, including, of course, our commander. Let's keep them around with Resolute Watchdog, a 1/3 Hound with Defender that costs a single white mana, so it can be a good blocker for us. Pay 1, sacrifice it. Target creature control gains indestructible until end of turn, so a great way to protect something that we need to. Selfless Survivor is pretty similar to that one. Selfless Savior, I should say. A 1/1 dog for a single white mana, sacrifice it. Another target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Our survivor is going to be the other creature. Thank you so much, Selfless Savior, for helping us out and saving our commander. Then there's Mischievous Pup, though, a 3/1 dog with flash that costs 3 mana and white. Enters the battlefield. Return to one other target permanent you control to its owner's hand. So if we need to save one of our things, we can out of nowhere with this, or just have a nice little blocker out of nowhere that can help too. But also on to tactic number 8, chew the furniture, because yeah, we can just absolutely wreck our opponents with our dogs as well. Anox Survivalist, a 2/1 Hound Shaman, a dog, with Megamorph for 1 and a green. Turn face up, destroy target artifact or enchantment and opponent controls. Mass Vandal can also help us with this, and is a changeling, so technically a dog. Enters the battlefield, you can exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile an artifact or enchantment opponent controls. Then there's Generous Gift, which has nothing to do with dogs, but it's cool. Destroy target permanent, its controller makes a 3/3 elephant creature token, so replace their best thing with a 3/3 elephant. What's not to love about that? And again, when you have a mass army of dogs that are huge, the 3/3 is nothing. Harsh Mercy, a sorcery for 3 mana and white. Each player chooses a creature type. Destroy all creatures that aren't of a type chosen this way. They can't be regenerated. Yeah, we can wipe out a lot of things and keep all of our dogs. Next up, Crush Contraband. Get rid of 2 things. Exile an artifact. Exile an enchantment. Aether Gale, bounce 6 things for 5 mana. What's not to love about that? Cleansing Nova, very flexible board wipe. Destroy all creatures, or all artifacts and enchantments. Rainbuckshus Mutt, a dog that can help us destroy something. What's not to love about that? ETB, destroy artifact or enchantment opponent controls. Chroma's Vengeance, a great panic button if we need it. Artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and if you don't need it, cycle it away, essentially. Then there's Austere Command, again, very flexible, very amazing. Choose 2 to destroy artifacts, all enchantments, all creatures that are small, all creatures that are big. Whatever works best for us, we are going to be picking and wiping the board. Next up, though, tactic number 9, fetch for mana. First up, we got Loyal Warhound, a 3/1 Vigilance for 2 mana. Vigilance is already very nice again, offense and defense. On top of that, ETB, everyone's got more lands than us. We get a plains and a play tap. Next up, Zhang Yangu, Wildcrafter. Says, well, we can get counters on creatures, that's nice. Most importantly, each creature control they counter on it can tap for 1 mana of any color. That can just explode our mana resources in a single turn. Rishkar Peeman Renegade, very similar. Enters the battlefield, get a counter on up to 2 target creatures. That's lovely. On top of that, each creature control they counter on it has tap, add green. 500-year diary. How about 500 mana? Okay, well, maybe that much. Not that much, but, you know, a lot. Enters battlefield, taps for a blue for each clue we control. We can also pay 2 to sacrifice to draw a card as well. But yeah, that's going to tap for a ton. Tanuki Transplanter. Whenever it or equipped creature attacks, add amount of green equal to its power. Until on turn, you don't lose mana assessment phase end. This, again, is going to be able to swing for a lot of mana for us. Or, yeah, attached to, like, Mawu, which already got massive, and do that as well. Greater Tanuki. 6/5 with trample, or we can actually cycle it away to go get a basic into play tap. Hamza is another one that can help us out as well. A 5/5 that costs 6 mana, but it can cost as little as 2, depending on the number of creatures that we have with counters on them. And also, the number of creatures that we have with counters on them also determines how much our other creatures are going to cost. Because creature spells you cast cost 1 less cast for each creature control they counter on it, then making basically their generic mana cost, well, essentially nothing. Just the pips is what we're going to be paying for. But finally, let's move on to tactic number 10, regular ramp. And of course, first up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. 2-tap sacrifice, get a base land and play tap. Rampant Growth, the standard for ramp. 2 mana, get a base and play tap. Edge of Autumn, exact same thing if you got 4 or fewer lands, or you can cycle away by sacrificing a land. Cultivate, get 2 basics. 1 goes into play tap, 1 goes into our hand. Grow from the Ashes, if you kick it, you get 2 basics and play untap. If not, just 1 to play untap. Harrow, speaking of untapped, sacrifice 1 land, get 2 basics and play untapped at instant speed. Rolling Rue up, the exact same thing, but those lands come to play tap. Search for Nar, another great turn 1 play. Suspend 2 for a single green mana. Basic gonna play untap. And finally, Migration Path, you can cycle away for 2, or basically Explosive Vegetation. 2 basics gonna play tap for the price of 4 mana. But as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this deck. Or if you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons for picking this. I had a blast building this deck. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.